So now we go to Mr. Nicholas Hodac, who is Director General of UNESDA, who represents the soft drinks in Europe. So you have 7 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Basil. It's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to start by acknowledging your work as moderating today's event. Congratulations. So UNESDA represents the European soft drinks industry. Just very briefly, it's 23 national associations and 10 corporate companies with companies like Coca-Cola, Red Bull, Pepsi, Suntory, Nestle, Danone, etc. And I very much appreciate being here, and we spoke a lot about labeling needs to be science-based. We spoke a lot about it needs to be sector-specific. And so I always find it very intriguing that when one criticizes a certain label, we compare one of my products with something like olive oil. I find that also always to be a very interesting comparison. So what I would like to do today is to share with you some of our perspectives on front-of-pack labeling. And I'll keep it short because in the interest of time, we've said this a lot, and I just would like to remind the audience, what is the objective of a nutrition labeling scheme? It is to serve the consumers. It is to help to serve consumers make an informed choice and also to incentivize reformulation. Why do I say this? Because that's how we view it from a beverage producer perspective. So we see really a lot of benefits with a nutrition labeling scheme, because we see a real opportunity to drive consumer behavior, but also to drive industry behavior. As UNESDA, we actually are not new in the space of labeling scheme. Back in 2008, we were actually the first sector globally to adopt the guideline daily amount. Because already then we believed in the need to enable consumers to make an informed choice. So we were the first food industry association in the world to roll out a clear at-a-glance label. Now, we obviously fully support an EU-wide harmonized approach. That is very clear. We heard today about, especially also from UFIC and others, that there is a confusion that is created with consumers, and that the proliferation of labels creates confusion and is a burden for industry. We have contributed actively to the stakeholder consultation. We thank the Commission for giving us that opportunity. And I would like to be very clear from the beginning, we are scheme agnostic. We are watching with great interest all of the discussions that are taking place at national level and at European level. And at this stage, UNESDA is scheme agnostic. We are scheme agnostic because when we look at the labeling scheme, we prefer to take a step back and get out of the emotions and some of the political discussions and look at what are the principles for us of any labeling scheme. And we have identified 4 principles, which I think will sound very obvious to many of you. One, as I said, it needs to serve consumers by informing choice and incentivizing reformulation. Number 2, it has to be non-discriminatory and science-based. Number 3, very important for us, it has to be under EU governance. And then 4th, something we have not spoken enough about today, but Tom from the FAO mentioned it, it needs to be in line with existing EU legislation. And here the nutrition and health claims regulation is extremely important for us because it is something that consumers know. It has existed for over a decade and consumers are familiar with these type of claims. So, and all due respect to Stephanie van der Vijveren, I am going to do a small deep dive into Nutri-Score, but I'm not going to do that in a negative way, but I would like to do it into a constructive way. Why? Because it is today the most widely used scheme, and therefore we as UNESDA have been closely monitoring its development, and we have decided to actively engage in those discussions. And so we thank the Nutri-Score countries for setting up a scientific committee, which has allowed us to share our comments. First of all, we do advocate for adjustments to Nutri-Score. They are linked to the principles that I've set out before. First, we believe that we need to avoid the conflicting message, because there are situations whereby you can have a D score and a low-calorie claim at the same time on the product. We think that's confusing. It needs to incentivize reformulation. What happens today with Nutri-Score is that even if in certain situations, even if you do a 30 or 40% reformulation, you still do not change labels. So we do not think it really incentivizes reformulation. And even if you get only 0.1% of sugar for beverage, you get a C rating, which we think is not very positive. And then finally, Stephanie mentioned the need for variability. Well, actually, if we did an analysis of the French market, and we did see that, in that situation, 80% of soft drinks are ranked D and E. So it does not create a lot of variability and a lot of distribution for consumers. So finally, we have shared our proposals, a very, what we believe, scientific approach towards improving Nutri-Score. We have done that with the health consultancy. And we have shared those with the International Scientific Committee, and we look forward to getting their report at the end of June. And I would like to end here to thank the audience, and I look forward to answering any questions.